The world will keep testing you. It will send storms when you're tired, losses when you least expect them, and silence when you crave answers. You can't stop that. But you can stop breaking. Because every challenge life throws your way is a reminder that strength isn't found in control but in composure. The Stoics never promised ease. They promised endurance. When you begin to think like them, you stop seeing problems as enemies and start seeing them as teachers. And suddenly, the pain that once crushed you becomes the weight that builds you. You will lose things that matter. People will disappoint you. Dreams will fade. But none of it defines you. The Stoics remind us that what happens outside is never who we are. The real test is how we choose to carry what remains. You can grieve and still be grateful. You can fail and still be proud. You can feel pain and still move forward with grace. That's what makes you powerful. Not perfection, but persistence. You are unbreakable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because nothing can keep you down for long. Every time you choose patience over anger, you build strength. Every time you choose calm over panic, you build mastery. And every time you choose acceptance over resistance, you build peace. These choices may seem small, but they shape everything. The Stoics didn't change the world by shouting. They changed themselves by practicing. They trained their minds like warriors train their bodies, through repetition, through stillness, through awareness. You can do the same. One thought, one breath, one choice at a time. There will be days when you forget, when your old habits return and you feel the world pressing against your calm. Don't blame yourself. The Stoics fell too. Marcus Aurelius doubted. Seneca struggled. Epictetus hurt. But they always returned to their practice. That's what matters, and not perfection, but return. Every time you fall and stand again, you prove the truth of Stoicism. That strength isn't the absence of failure. It's the will to begin again without bitterness. You fall, you rise. You keep walking. That's the way. If you remember nothing else from this reflection, remember this: you are stronger than you think. The mind that can observe its own pain is already free from it. The moment you stop reacting and start reflecting, you reclaim your peace, and that peace becomes your superpower, because when you are calm, you see clearly. When you see clearly, you act wisely. And when you act wisely, life no longer controls you. You guide it. That's the quiet revolution the Stoics began, and it still lives within you. So when the world feels heavy, pause. Breathe. Return to yourself. Ask, is this within my control? If it isn't, release it. If it is, act with calm purpose. That's the Stoics way. That's how you walk through chaos without losing your center. Remember, peace isn't something you find. It's something you build. And every breath of awareness lays another stone in your inner fortress. Over time, that fortress becomes unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. The Stoic path isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming deeply alive, aware of every feeling but owned by none. It's about loving deeply without clinging, giving freely without expecting, and living fully without fear. It's about standing in the middle of life, the joy, the grief, the uncertainty, and saying, I will not be broken. That's not denial. That's mastery. The kind of mastery that turns suffering into wisdom and existence into art. And so, as this reflection ends, carry with you the quiet strength of those who came before. Marcus, Seneca, Epictetus. Ordinary people who learned extraordinary peace. Let their wisdom live through your actions. Be kind in a cruel world. Be calm in a chaotic one. Be steady when others fall apart. Because the greatest legacy of Stoicism isn't found in words. It's found in the way you live when life tests you most. Let your calm be your strength, and your strength be your peace. Thank you for watching the Stoic Journal. May these words remind you that peace isn't somewhere far away. It's right where you are in every breath you choose to take mindfully. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of reflection, resilience, and reason. Together, we'll keep building what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a place where no chaos can enter and no storm can destroy. Because once you think like a Stoic, nothing can break you. When Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men," he wasn't glorifying pain, he was revealing its purpose. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to shape you. Every setback, every loss, every scar is the forge that strengthens your spirit. Think of a blade being hammered. Every strike refines its edge. That's what life does to you when you face pain with courage. You don't escape stronger by avoiding the heat. You endure it, and in doing so you find what you're truly made of. That's how pain becomes purpose. There's beauty in the discipline of turning suffering into strength. When life hurts, the Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What can I learn?" He doesn't curse the fire, he lets it purify him. You begin to see that every challenge is not a curse but a calling, a chance to rise, to grow, to deepen. When you carry this mindset, pain no longer feels like punishment. It becomes progress. You start walking through life not as a victim of circumstance, but as a student of it. Every hardship is now a teacher, and you? The willing learner, Marcus Aurelius, wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That single thought changes everything. You cannot always choose what happens, but you can always choose what it means. A delay can be frustration, or it can be patience. A failure can be defeat, or it can be refinement. The meaning is yours to create. The Stoics lived by this principle. They chose perception over reaction, wisdom over impulse. And in doing so, they mastered themselves while others lost control. When someone insults you, you have a choice: to let it enter, or to let it pass. To fight words with more words, or to rise above them. The Stoic pauses, breathes, and remembers. Their words belong to them, not to me. That pause is power. In that stillness, you reclaim your mind from the chaos of emotion. Most people think power is loud, but Stoic power is silent. The kind that smiles at provocation and keeps walking. You become untouchable not by building walls but by mastering your response. There's a phrase the Stoics lived by: amor fati, the love of fate. It means to not only accept what happens but to embrace it. Life will not always give you what you want, but it will always give you what you need to grow. When something painful happens, the Stoic doesn't ask to change it. He asks to understand it. You stop resisting life's flow and start trusting it. Acceptance doesn't mean weakness. It's the highest form of strength. Because resistance wastes energy, but acceptance turns it into wisdom. Imagine a river flowing endlessly toward the sea. It meets rocks, branches, and obstacles, but it doesn't fight them. It flows around them. That's amor fati. When you learn to love what life brings, you stop being a victim of it. You find meaning in the broken, purpose in the painful, and peace in the uncertain. You stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start saying, "I will make this part of my story." That's how you become one with life, not by changing it, but by flowing through it with grace. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel, a fortress built within the mind. Inside it, your peace cannot be stolen, your will cannot be bent, and your calm cannot be disturbed. This fortress isn't built overnight. It's built every time you choose stillness over reaction, reflection over chaos, gratitude over resentment. Each small act of discipline becomes a brick in your defense, and soon you find that the world can rage all it wants, but you remain unmoved. Because you no longer live at the mercy of events. You live at the command of your reason. This is the essence of Stoic strength: quiet, resilient, unwavering. It doesn't seek attention because it doesn't need validation. It's not about appearing calm, it's about being calm. The Stoic doesn't avoid pain, he transforms it. He doesn't chase control, he practices acceptance. And through this, he discovers the greatest power a human being can hold: peace in the middle of the storm. When you live this way, nothing outside you can touch you, because what stands within you is far greater than anything the world can send against you. There comes a point when words, lessons, and philosophies fade into silence, and you're left alone with your thoughts. That's where Stoicism truly begins. It's not a theory to memorize or a quote to repeat. It's the art of living. The Stoics didn't speak about strength because it sounded noble. They spoke about it because they had no choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote his wisdom while leading armies through chaos. Seneca wrote his letters while facing exile and death. Epictetus taught freedom while wearing the chains of a slave. They lived what they spoke, and so must you. To live like a Stoic is to understand that control is a myth the world sells to the restless. You can't control time, outcomes, or people, but you can always control your effort, your virtue, and your perception. That's enough. When you realize this, something profound happens. Fear loses its grip. You stop clinging to what you can't keep. You stop fearing what you can't change. And in that surrender, you discover the deepest kind of freedom. Not freedom from life, but freedom within it. The Stoics saw the universe as a teacher, every joy, every heartbreak, every delay holding a hidden lesson. To resist it is to stay ignorant. To accept it is to become wise. Every obstacle, every pain, every loss is life whispering, grow. When you listen, the same situations that once broke you begin to shape you. The same wounds that once weakened you begin to open your eyes. You start to see that nothing was ever meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. The Stoic sees pain not as punishment, but as preparation. There's a stillness that comes when you stop wishing for a different life and start embracing the one you have. You stop running toward things and start standing within yourself. That's when peace finds you. The world doesn't need to change for you to feel calm. You simply stop fighting it. Like the ocean that accepts both storm and sunlight, you begin to accept everything that comes your way. The Stoics knew this truth, that real peace is not the absence of struggle but the presence of stability. You remain still, not because the world is kind, but because you are strong. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the heart of Stoicism, the transformation of obstacle into opportunity. You stop cursing life for being difficult and start thanking it for making you resilient. The moment you begin to see hardship as the path itself, not a distraction from it, the burden lifts. You stop asking for easy days. You start asking for the strength to meet hard ones. That's how the Stoic walks through fire and calls it growth. Look at your own life. Every heartbreak, every failure, every night you thought you wouldn't survive, you did. You're here, and that means the pain didn't win. It taught, it refined, it sculpted you into someone wiser, more aware, more grounded. The Stoics believed we are not shaped by comfort, but by confrontation. What you face, you become. The question is no longer, why me? It's, who will I become through this? That's the quiet strength that Stoicism gifts to those who live it. Not a life free of storms, but a soul that has learned to sail through them. The modern world worships distraction, constant noise, endless comparison, and the pursuit of more. But the Stoic learns the opposite. To pause, to breathe, to return to what matters. You begin to see that life's beauty lies not in control but in awareness. The sound of morning rain, the stillness of a quiet evening, the simplicity of breath. These small moments become sacred when you stop demanding perfection from life, because peace was never out there. It was always waiting within. You just needed to slow down long enough to feel it. When you live with this awareness, everything changes. Failure becomes guidance.
Pain becomes wisdom.
The ordinary becomes profound. You no longer rush through days searching for meaning. You create meaning by how you live them. The Stoics believed that every moment is an opportunity for virtue, to practice patience, courage, compassion, and clarity. These are not abstract ideals. They are the foundations of an unshakable life. The more you live by them, the more life's storms begin to feel like wind passing through trees, heard, felt, but never feared. This is what it means to be unbreakable. Not because life stops hurting, but because you stop running. You stand firm, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, this too is part of my training. You begin to carry a calmness that others can feel. It's not arrogance, it's peace. A quiet knowing that whatever comes you'll endure. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping your place in it. That's when you understand the truth Marcus Aurelius found centuries ago, that the world outside you is chaos, but the world within can be still. And in that stillness, you find yourself. The version of you that is untouched by noise, unshaken by failure, unafraid of pain. That's the person you were always meant to meet. That's the mind the Stoics trained to build, strong, aware, gentle, and free. You realize that the journey was never about control or perfection. It was about peace, the peace of knowing that whatever life takes, it cannot take your character, because what stands firm within you, that nothing can break. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. There comes a time when the noise of life grows louder than your own thoughts. The world demands more than you can give, and peace begins to feel like a memory. You wake up chasing what slips away faster with every breath. Control. You want people to act right, circumstances to align, days to unfold according to plan. But life has never made such promises. And so frustration rises not from what happens, but from the belief that it shouldn't. Yet in that storm of resistance, a quiet truth waits to be remembered. You don't need to control everything, only yourself. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is merciless, the sky split by lightning, and everything you once built begins to shake. Most people run for shelter, desperate to escape the chaos. But a Stoic stands still. He lets the storm rage and simply breathes, because he knows what cannot be touched: his mind, his will, his reason. The storm can destroy walls, but not the fortress within. This is the beginning of strength. Not fighting the world, but mastering your response to it. We live in a world that confuses control with peace. We chase order through effort, and when it collapses, we collapse with it. But the Stoics saw a higher path. They believed peace isn't found in the absence of difficulty, but in the presence of understanding. The moment you realize that your reaction defines your reality, you begin to see the power you've always had, the power to stay calm when others break, the power to stay steady when life trembles. Nothing outside you has the power to break you unless you hand it the key. Anger, fear, jealousy. They are thieves waiting for permission to enter your mind. But when you choose awareness, when you decide to guard your thoughts as a sacred space, the world loses its hold on you. You stop reacting and start observing. You stop fighting life and start learning from it. And in that shift, you become unshakable. When you start to think like a Stoic, the world doesn't change, you do. You stop asking why life is unfair and start asking how you can remain fair in an unfair world. You stop searching for peace in things and start building it within. The Stoic mind becomes a sanctuary, quiet, disciplined, and free. Pain still visits, but it no longer stays. Disappointment knocks, but it finds no shelter. Because strength isn't about being untouched, it's about being unmoved. There's a light that burns quietly in every Stoic heart, a flame that no storm can extinguish. It doesn't roar, it glows with calm defiance. It whispers, "I cannot control the world, but I can control myself." That is enough. That is power. And when you understand this, when you master your mind, you discover something extraordinary. Nothing outside you can ever truly harm you again, because when you think like a Stoic, life still tests you, but every test refines you. Every loss deepens your understanding. Every challenge polishes the mirror of your soul. You don't live to escape pain, you live to rise above it. You don't wait for peace, you create it. The Stoics didn't seek comfort. They sought clarity, and through that clarity they became unbreakable. The moment you realize that the world will always move as it pleases, you stop demanding calm from chaos. Instead, you become the calm. You stop searching for strength outside yourself, because it has always lived within. That quiet, steady awareness, that's the gift Stoicism offers. It's not about running from the storm. It's about learning to stand within it, unshaken, untouched, and alive. You wake up each morning and step into a world that spins faster than your thoughts can catch up. Messages, deadlines, expectations, all waiting to claim your attention before the day has even begun. You tell yourself you'll find calm later once things settle down, but they never do. The noise doesn't fade. It just changes shape. That's why the Stoics taught that peace is not found in silence, but in control of the self. Because no matter how loud life gets, the mind, when trained, can remain still. And in that stillness, you find strength. There's a reason Stoicism has outlived empires and kings. It speaks to something eternal, the human desire to endure, to stay unbroken when the world becomes too much. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in the quiet of battle tents. Seneca found wisdom in exile. Epictetus taught freedom while living as a slave. They didn't just speak philosophy, they lived it. Their calm wasn't gifted by fate. It was forged in fire, and that same fire burns within you. The only question is, will you let it strengthen you or consume you? To think like a Stoic is to understand that pain, loss, and uncertainty are not exceptions. They are part of the human condition. You can't escape them, but you can meet them differently. When the world falls apart, most people break with it. The Stoic does not. He bends but does not shatter. He grieves without losing gratitude. He struggles without losing virtue, because his foundation isn't built on comfort or luck, it's built on wisdom. And wisdom endures. Today you will rediscover that foundation. This journey isn't about ancient philosophy or distant names. It's about you, your thoughts, your reactions, your power. The Stoics remind us that life is not about what happens to you, but how you meet it. Every insult, every failure, every delay is an invitation to strengthen your inner fortress. This is where freedom begins, not outside, but within. When you understand this, no setback can own you and no fear can rule you. In this reflection, we'll explore 5 Stoic principles, timeless lessons that can change how you see every hardship. Each one is simple, but when practiced, it transforms. You'll learn how to stop reacting to what you can't control, how to turn pain into wisdom, how to see fate not as an enemy, but as a guide. These aren't ideas to admire, they're tools to live by. Tools that build the unshakable peace the Stoics called the inner citadel. The world will not slow down for your peace. It will not soften for your comfort. But you can learn to move through it differently. The same traffic, the same arguments, the same failures, yet you feel lighter. Because you no longer fight what is. You flow with it. That is Stoic calm, not indifference but mastery. You begin to see that strength isn't loud or proud. It's quiet, disciplined, and rooted in understanding. When you begin to live this way, people notice. They wonder why you don't react the way others do, why you stay calm when anger would be easier. They think you don't care, but it's the opposite. You care deeply, just not destructively. You've learned to give your best to what you can control and peace to what you cannot. That's real power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself because it knows its worth. The kind that endures storms without seeking shelter. The Stoic life is not about escaping emotion. It's about mastering it. It's about learning to carry pain without letting it poison you, to love deeply without clinging, to fail without self-hatred. Each emotion becomes a visitor, not a ruler. You acknowledge it, learn from it, and let it pass. That's what freedom looks like. Not the absence of feeling, but the ability to stay centered within it. The Stoic heart feels everything, but it's owned by nothing. If you stay with me through this reflection, you'll see how this ancient philosophy still breathes life into the modern world. It's not about marble statues or old Latin texts. It's about learning to face your day differently, with more calm, more presence, more control. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose patience over anger, every time you accept what you cannot change, you step closer to becoming unbreakable. That's not theory. That's transformation. And as you listen, I want you to remember one thing. Nothing in this world is promised to stay. Not success, not comfort, not even peace. But if you build it inside yourself, if you make calm your natural state, then no loss can take it from you. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not to live without hardship, but to live above it. Not to be untouchable, but to be unshakable. Because when you think like a Stoic, nothing can break you. You wake up one morning to a message that changes everything. A loss, a rejection, a disappointment. Your chest tightens and your mind spirals into questions that have no answers. In that moment, life feels unbearable. But this is where the Stoic begins his practice, not in comfort, but in chaos. Epictetus taught that peace comes when we separate what we can control from what we cannot. You can't control the message, the words, or the event, but you can control your breath, your focus, your response. That's where freedom begins, in the smallest space between what happens and how you choose to meet it. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or another person's behavior. You cannot stop time or silence loss, but you can control your effort, your attention, and your character, and that's enough. The Stoics remind us that all suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When you stop fighting reality, you stop bleeding energy into things that never belonged to you. Instead, you begin to move with life, not against it. The storm still rages, but you are no longer swept away. You've learned to let go of what was never yours to hold.